Welcome back to the channel, everybody. How you doing? I just want to say I appreciate you guys being here. Today we're going to do a fun video. I'm going to have fun doing it. And that is Overrated fantasy series. I did a video a couple weeks ago calling them like booktube and echo chamber and yada yada yada. And it made my mind start working. I'm like, there's a lot of books on here that everyone puts in their top 10 favorite fantasy series. And I kind of just want to talk about how I feel like some of them are kind of overrated. I got 5 of them on here and I just want to talk about it real quick. I don't know how long this video is going to be, so strap in. You'll see the time stamp. So let's strap in and talk about my opinion on overrated book series. Overrated fantasy book series. Gotta add fantasy in it. This is gonna be fun. So let's do number 1 on this list, and that is the Stormlight Archive. I read the first 3 of Stormlight Archive, and I think the first 2 are really good. I actually think the first book is arguably one of the best fantasy novels I have ever read. Book 2 ups it up a lot. There's a lot of good payoffs in book 2, and in book 3 I think it really drops in quality a lot. I think Dalinar was such a cool character, and I just felt like his backstory was a little too edgelord. Like, I think Brandon Sanderson was like, we're gonna try to make him really cool, like a really cool, badass character. And he was cool, but it just felt like he was such an edgelord. All he's like, I want to kill people because I'm cool. Like, I don't know, I just didn't really like it too much. And when you learn about his whole backstory, I just felt very 50-50 about it. Maybe that's a controversial thing because a lot of people really like book 3. I did not. I don't know. I felt like it just wasn't that good of a payoff, especially because I was a big fan of Dalinar. And I also thought like Kaladin just feels like every book, Kaladin just keeps getting pushed farther and farther away from the main screen. So just to me, I just didn't enjoy it. And then I started reading book 4, and I think I was only like 3 chapters in. I was just like, this ain't for me, dog. I didn't like book 3 that much, and I'm not gonna read book 4 because I did not want to. And then I saw all these people talking about how bad they did not, like how bad book 5 was, and I was like, whew, thank God I did not read it. Like, I'm really happy with that, and I feel like the Stormlight Archive is slowly going to take a dip. Maybe that's just me. I'm just not a big fan of it. I also feel like it's way too long for no reason. I just feel like each book should not be, 1,200 pages. I feel like there was just a lot of it that could have been cut out. Each book could have been 800 pages, and I think it would just be fine. Like I said, I like the slow pace of these books, but I'm also like, why is this here? That's just how I felt about it while reading the Stormlight Archive. Number 2 on this list is the First Law trilogy. I read this a while ago. When I first started YouTube, I didn't actually post any videos about it because I just wanted to read it, and I was still learning a lot with YouTube. Because of the influence of the booktube community, I was like, I need to read the First Law trilogy. Everyone talks about how good it is. First thing I will say, good old Joe can really write some characters. The only reason why I just feel like it's overrated is because there's truly no plot to this series. If you ask what the plot is, I'm going to sit there and just stare at you because I have no idea. It's carried by characters. And I actually want to do a video talking about, does a book need a plot to be good? Because there are some books I read with like really no plot, and it's just so good. But this felt like after I finished this series, I sat back and I was like, what did I just read? Like, I just didn't feel like it was worth it. Character-wise, characters are really good in this. And I almost read the second era or the second trilogy after because I was so interested just to figure out what else there is. But the more and more I didn't care to read it, the more and more I realized I was not a big fan of the First Law trilogy, and there's a little bit of me that kind of wants to reread them and then talk about them on YouTube a little bit more, because everyone on booktube loves the series, and I'm kind of like, why? Because I was a part of getting influence, and in my head I mentally was like, oh, I have to give this book a good rating because everyone else did. I just didn't see the hype now. Like, the more I think about it, I think character-wise, really good. I think Logan Ninefingers is probably one of my favorite characters. He's just dope. He's just a cool meathead Conan character that has a good character with him. But I just thought it was kind of boring. I mean, I just didn't understand what there was like no plot, but there was a plot. It just felt very loose, especially in book 1. you had no idea what was really going on. It's just characters doing just random things. And then book 2, I just felt like it was all the same. And I felt like book 3, just the payoff was not very good. You don't really know what happens to any of these characters, which I feel like it's not a bad thing, but it's also just like, what? Like, I don't know. I just didn't feel like the payoffs were there. And I just felt like there was no plot. And that's just how I've been looking at it. Now, do I think Joe is a really good writer? Absolutely. I think he can really spin some words. I think the way he can write dialogue is so good because you can close your eyes and you can hear dialogue from like 3 or 4 separate characters and you know who those characters are. I really do enjoy that element. I just felt like this is a very overrated series because I just think booktube just really hyped it up. That's just me. Number 3 on this list, the good old 3. Wheel Time. I think the Wheel Time is extremely overrated. I think it's because there's 14 books and it does not need to be 14 books. I also feel like it could have been 7 books and been really fine. I felt like there's a lot of repetitive themes in this, a lot of repetitive characters that were just so unwanted, and I felt like how he wrote a lot of the characters, I felt like it was the same exact characters with a lot of the same names, and it's just like, holy crap, why do we have all these names in here? I think a lot of the characters in this book were not very good. I also think the main characters, he really skewed away from a lot of the main characters, especially my boy Perrin. Perrin got so screwed after like book 4. It's like book 4 to like book 12. Perrin does nothing besides get married, which is important. I like the marriage part, but the rest of it is just, it felt like he was doing nothing. Like his whole arc took forever while everyone else is gaining traction. I think Matt was a really good character. I think Matt's character development is really good. I think Rand's is really good. I think Naive, even though I didn't like Naive a whole lot. I think hers, Egwene, we don't like no Egwene here. I don't like Egwene. So that's the fact. I do not like her. I think she is a terrible character. She is the definition of failing upwards constantly, and it drives me nuts. She's kind of like Jim from The Office, where Jim does nothing, but he keeps getting rewarded, and it's just like, oh. But my biggest beef with this whole book series is it's too dang long. It's 14 books, 14 and a half if you count the novella. When I finished it, and I closed a memory light, I closed it, set it down, and I sat there and thought, was it worth it? And the real honest to God answer is no. It was not worth it to me. Everyone on booktube is like, oh, it was totally worth it. It was worth it. It's like, no, it's not. It's just not worth reading so many books. Hundreds of pages. I think it's like over 2 million words. It just was not worth it. Now, do I think Robert Jordan is really good at writing? Yeah, that dude can spin some words. The slog is truly the slog. Like a lot of nothing. We talk about a bowl. That's the arc for that, is the bowl to change the weather. That's all it is. It's just about a freaking bowl. And we're just like, okay, where's the rest of the story? It's just about a bowl. That all could have been taken out. But I truly believe, and I will stick to my guard about that. I will stand on this hill if I have to be alone. But I truly believe if The Wheel of Time was only 7 books, it would arguably be the greatest fantasy series of all time. He gives all these characters great arcs. Besides Egwene, all of these characters get really good arcs, but it takes forever, which is fun. Character development is a real thing. When you have to write 14 books and it feels like half of the books are kind of boring and they don't really go anywhere, it kind of sucks. Like, I am not a big fan of that. When I was reading this series, I actually switched to audiobook to help me. And I'm going to be honest, I think it needs an update on the audiobook. I just don't think it's very good. That's just might be another hot take. Just me. But I just tried so hard to really like it, and it was really hard. There was times where I'm like, oh, dear God. And the thing is, when the moments happen, when the big moments happen, it was awesome. Really, really awesome moments in these books. But again, it was just too long of a series, too many characters, just too much of everything. And that was the biggest problem for me. And there is people who I saw on booktube that DNF the series after like the 3rd book, and I respect it. I wish I did that. I should have done that. Now I'm here talking about why I think it's kind of overrated. That's just me. I got 2 more on this list. One I'm going to talk about real quick, and it's just ACOTAR. I think ACOTAR is just super overrated. I just don't think it's like a fantasy series, really. I just don't think it's that good. I don't like Feyre. I think the buildup of Feyre as the main character, and it's just all through her POV, it's just not very good. I think if you make a book that's first person POV, you really need to make that character interesting, or the setting around really interesting. I just don't think Feyre is very interesting as a main character. And I'll compare it to like the Dresden Files. I think Dresden is a really interesting character, and the cast in the Dresden Files is way more interesting, and they're all well done compared to the ACOTAR characters. And that's why, like, my girl, her and I talked about the ACOTAR books, and I told her my feelings for it, and she's like, well, that's why everyone likes Throne of Glass, because Throne of Glass is just better. Now, I am forbidden to read that because my girl, it's her favorite series, and I'm forbidden to read it, which is perfectly fine. I don't want to read it. When I read ACOTAR, I just sat there and thought, Feyre is a terrible main character. Feyre sucks. And the worst part is, the last book of the series, A Court of Silver Flame, is the best book of the series, because you don't deal with Feyre, you deal with Nesta. And Nesta actually has a really cool arc. There's some complaints I have for that book, and it's just, it's gonna be weird, but I know it's like a smutty romance novel, and for me, when I read books and characters fall in love, I kind of like when characters fall in love and they don't have sex before they are in love. I don't like how the object of using sex is the way that characters fall in love. I'm not the biggest fan of that, and that's just how I've always looked at it. I don't know, I just always been kind of more of the old school kind of way where the characters fall in love with each other and then they do it, because love and sex is a very cherishable thing. That's just how I've always looked at it. So in book 5, Nesta and a character who I'm not going to spoil, they have sex and they do like a lot of sexual things together before they fall in love. And not the biggest fan of that. Number 5 on this list, I only read this book because it's not a finished series. It's not Game of Thrones. It's the Kingkiller Chronicles. I read the first book of Kingkiller, and it's not because the series is not done. I just don't see the hype. I don't like characters where the main character is perfect at everything and he is just cool. Everything's cool. I don't like when you write I like first person novels, I do, but when you write first person and they are not like correct and everything they say is like you have to believe because it's only what they tell you, I'm not the biggest fan of it. And I think that's the biggest problem about Kingkiller Chronicles is the way that this book is written. I don't care if it's so beautifully written. It's when the story is just not very good and the main character is just such a D-bag and you just can't enjoy it. I never understood the hype. I read this book 2 years ago, I think. I sat back and I was like, what? Why did I read this? Nothing really happens and the main character is just better than everyone at everything. Does he go through some hardships? There's some aspects where he kind of does, but it falls to the same thing where it doesn't matter because he's in that bad scenario probably for like a chapter and then he gets out of it and he just excels at every single thing he does. And it just really bothers me. I don't like that because for me, when I'm reading, I want to read about the underdog kind of character where they grow and become OP, become the best characters. So when I read the Kingkiller Chronicle, I can't even remember the main character's name because it's ingrained in my mind of how much I just disliked this book. I think I gave it like a 1 star because I was like, this book makes me so mad. I read it and I just could not ever get behind it, and I will never get behind it. And I will never read book 2, and I will never read book 3 because it's probably never coming out. We all know it's not because Patrick's not going to write it. We all know he's not writing the book. He's just like George. They are not writing these books, people. I hope everyone knows that. Patrick's not going to write and finish the Kingkiller Chronicles. We know that's the truth. It's just a sad reality, and I'm not saying, oh, I don't like the book because it's not finished. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just like, I don't like this book because I just don't think it's good. I don't like the main character. I don't like how it's written. I just don't like anything about this book. And that's just how I've been looking at it. If you guys made it to the end of the video, I do appreciate it. Do you agree with what I said about these books, or do you disagree? I'd love to know down below if I am a fool and I just am just a hater on popular books, which is false. But when I think about these kind of books that are just always hyped up and I feed into it and want to read these books, and I realize, wow, these books are not good, or they're not up to the hype level. I don't want to read them, and I don't want to lie to anyone who wants to watch these videos. I don't want to do that. I want to always be honest. So if I don't like this book, I'm going to tell you guys why I don't like this book. And I will always stick to that. Now, if I like a book, you'll know why I like this book. If I dislike the book, you'll also know why I dislike it. Every single book I've talked about in this, I have reviews of every single book on here, except for Stormlight Archive 4 and 5, because I'm never going to read those. I will never ever finish that series, because Brandon Sanderson is taking like a 5-year break on book 6. So I'm just like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. But regardless, though, I'd love to know your thoughts. And what fantasy books do you guys think is overrated? I'd love to know down below. I could probably do more of them, but I figured 5 is fine. I could make this probably like a 40-minute video about ones I think are kind of overhyped. But I'd love to know down below what are your overrated fantasy series you guys think, or do you think these ones I've said, you guys like them and you think I'm wrong? Let me know down below. I'd love to talk to you guys about this. And of course, make sure you guys stay safe, stay humble, and tell someone you love them. I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay weird.